All right, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and call to order today's meeting. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Like I said before, we do not have interpretation services, so please either, if you're on Zoom, please send us a message or raise your hand if you need interpretation, but I think we have folks covered at this point. So at this time, I'll invite up our Vice Chair, Francisco Figueroa, for an invitation to membership.
Bienvenidos a todos. Welcome everyone. Si quieren ser parte de del website que es de nuestro vecindario, ahí atrás está una forma para que la llenemos y podemos inscribirnos para ser miembro. In the table in the back, we have the form for membership. If you want to be part for the website community council, so welcome. Any donation is welcome too, and thank you.
Thank you, Francisco. And I just want to supplement a little bit, just to add, our membership really thrives. We're grassroots. This is a public forum. We provide information. We try to connect you guys as best we could to what's going on in the city and opportunities around. It does take a lot of effort and some money to do what we do. So we ask that if you're able, go ahead, fill out an application. We have some in the back that we can get for you, or you can go online, become a member. We suggest a $35 donation, but we really look forward to growing our membership this year and the years coming. And for our next item, we'll have the treasurer's report from Treasurer Kaye Zerbes.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out in this heat. Okay, right now, we did have a $100 donation. So now we are at $500 even. That's what we have in the bank. But we receive any donations whatsoever. Just, I have a little hat in the back. I'll pass it if you'd like, or you can just drop something in it. Either way, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kaye. And then I'm looking to see if, Marco, we have the budget. Okay. So in a moment, we'll be pulling up our balance sheet so you guys can see where we're at. We recently just got a $1,500 donation from CD Lions. So thank you very much. I believe that money was earmarked specifically for the Westside Fiesta that we will be hosting and that you'll hear more about. But okay, so we started this last month at request of one of our members. So this is our draft-ish kind of document that shows our expenditures, income, expenses, line item, donations that we've received. We can add more detail and this can evolve as the year progresses, but if we could scroll down to August. So when at the time this was prepared, we had about $425 in our bank account. I checked yesterday, we're at about 1,800. So I'm pleased to provide that this is incorrect. We actually have more money in the bank. And Kaye will be passing a hat around. Any pocket change you guys are willing to part with, we are happy to receive. So thank you in advance for that. Oh, and we got a picture. Let me give you a mark. $300. Oh, really? Yes. Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you. So, okay. I'll repeat for the mic. So thank you so much. We got Latinos Insurance Agency, $300 donation. And thank you so much. I could cry. So, super good news for today's Treasury report. And then I'll pass it over to our Public Works and Public Works Liaison, Mr. Pete Freeman.
Okay, so the GPAC, which is the General Plan Advisory Committee, you guys have heard me talk about it quite a bit. We finished the after 18 months, we finished the land use element of the general plan. And that went to the Planning Commission in August. They heard it over 2 nights, made their recommendations, and it will be going to the City Council on September 11th for final approval or adjustments, or send it back to us, but probably approval. That's the GPAC. The flags that you see along the avenue, they will be coming down, I believe the 15th, they'll be taken down. And what we'll do, we'll get them all gathered up, and then we'll go through them and look which ones need to be mended or retired or washed and repaired. We can do, we'll have more information on that when we get them down and we see what's going on. And we try to have like a big gathering and a big party and go through them and sort through what we need to do. Streetlights, I don't know if too many of you noticed on the avenue here, we've got 8 streetlights that were upgraded to LEDs. The city just contacted Edison to see what we can do about getting more done. We haven't got the money for all of them, so we're doing them in stages. So hopefully we're going to get another 8 done. So that'll bring the lighting on the street lighting on the avenue up to what is required and what's code. And then lastly, we're going to have a presentation tonight from an applicant that wants to build a McDonald's at Stanley and the avenue at Rocklight. They were going to present, but they received a letter from the city to make some changes. So they had to put that off until probably November, and hopefully they'll be back presenting what they're going to propose up there. So that's just a heads up that there is a McDonald's proposed for the west side. And that's all I got, unless you have any questions or thoughts or comments. No? Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Pete. So I did a little oopsies and I skipped over too many city reports, so I apologize to staff. So right now we're kind of skipping around. We're still in standing reports. So we'll hear City of Ventura updates, and I'll go ahead and invite up Councilmember Campos. Would you prefer to go, or would you like staff to come first? All right, staff. So we're gonna have sorry, Alejandra Tellez, correct, from the Public Information Office.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alejandra Belalcázar, and I'm your communication specialist with the City of Ventura. Voy a hablar en español también a la misma vez. Hola, ¿qué tal? Ya hemos hablado, entonces, de nuevo. Bueno, do we have our slides up? Yes. This is a reminder that we return to our council meetings on September 11th and September 25th. The agendas are posted online a week in advance, so please check those out, and they're also posted in Spanish. Las reuniones del Consejo Municipal regresan el 11 de septiembre y el 25 de septiembre. Las agendas están en inglés y en español y se ponen una semana antes de la reunión del Consejo. Entonces ahí también las puedes ver. This second part I'm going to skip. I will bring it to the end. Esta segunda parte que está acá, voy a traerla al final de la presentación. We have a public works construction update. If we have our website here, this is Midtown to Westside Waterline interconnection, Bristol Road Street resurfacing, and Ventura Water Pure Ocean Outfall. If folks in the room are interested in checking out the status and percentage of completion and estimated day of completion, we have this listed in the website. It's an interactive map. It gives you all the information about the project, who is your point of contact, etc. Estas son las actualizaciones de construcción de obras públicas, la interconexión de red de agua de Midtown al Westside y emisario submarino de Ventura Water Pure que va hacia el mar. Lo que estaba comentando es que hay un mapa donde puedes ver toda la información sobre los proyectos, el estatus de la obra y el día que se va a completar y la persona de contacto. Entonces, en esta página puedes ver todo el estatus y toda la información sobre la obra. This other one is calling professional artists. If you know any artists, have them submit their RFQs for Ventura Water Pure Facility. The application is due September 30th. If you'd like to learn more, we have a link here. If you have any questions, I also have my business card back at the table. If you have any folks that need some answers to their questions, happy to direct them to the right folks. Este es un llamado a artistas profesionales que envíen su solicitud de calificaciones para la instalación de un mural en Ventura Water Pure. Las solicitudes vencen el 30 de septiembre y en este enlace pueden ver información en inglés y en español. And now I would like to introduce everybody, folks, I believe you know our emergency services manager, Mac Douglas, and he will be talking about evacuation planning and the community survey. And I'll pass those around too for Mac. Y les presento a Mac Douglas. Él es el manager de servicios de emergencia de la ciudad y él va a hablar sobre una encuesta sobre evacuaciones.
Thank you, Alejandra, and thank all of you for having me tonight. When I came earlier this year to introduce myself, I mentioned that the city would be working on an evacuation plan. That is moving forward now, thanks in large part due to the fact that it was a city council goal. Thank you, Councilmember Campos, for your support and instruction on that. What's going around right now is a flyer in English and Spanish that has a link, QR code link to the evacuation planning survey. It's really important that we get your input at this early stage of the project because it will inform everything that comes after it, from the implementation outreach that we'll do after we have the plan done, so people understand what the plan means and what the implications are in an emergency. So I would encourage you to please participate in that survey by October 3rd. I've left additional copies of that flyer on the back table, and I can get more for you if they're needed. If you know anybody who is interested in participating, the whole community approach is really important to me in getting this done. If you have any questions tonight, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, our board member, communications chair, Marco Cuevas, is there anything you'd like to add? Okay, great. So while he's getting set up over there, we'll take a moment to relax. It's been stressful for a lot of us, I think. But words of support, the WCC board is always here for you guys. Plug for my office hours every Wednesday, except for the first Wednesdays. You can find me at the WCDC office. I will be there between 6:30, 8:30, and I'm happy to help with any problem you guys bring me. So visit me anytime, you know where to find me. And here's Marco. Thank you.
Any problem? Good to know. All right. Let Helen get back there so I can have her go to the next slide. So a week from this Saturday, we have our Westside Fiesta. I don't know if you've seen it on social media. We've been trying to plug that advertisement. We got flyers going around town, help spread the word for this community event that we started planning months ago. We got $1,000 grant from the city, which is going to help with our budget. Next slide. So this idea started as a branch off from Taco Week. It kind of was coincidental in a way. This is the third annual Taco Week. These flyers just got released as well from our sister organization over at the WCDC. So Taco Week is September 14th through the 17th. Go support your local restaurants, buy some tacos. I know I'll be trying to see how many I can buy in that 4-day span. We have over a dozen restaurants available. Next slide. So the idea for a community event, we were like, all right, when should we have it? What should we do? And so we thought, oh, Taco Week's having their week. Let's add that Saturday, have this big party, big fiesta, and see if that would be something that the community would like. So hopefully this is the first year we're doing this. Hopefully it goes well. This is our flyer that we're posting everywhere. If anyone wants a copy, let me know. I'll send you the picture so you can text everyone you know around town. So it's basically threefold. We have food. We have some food trucks coming. We got Schaefer's Kitchen. They got tacos and rice bowls. Pizza Man Dan's going to have small pizzas and Mr. Softy. And then we also have music, come out and dance. We have that big front of the park space that we're going to use as the dance floor. And we got, thanks to Matt over there who suggested this DJ, DJ Charlie. We were able to secure him. Really good DJ. Looking forward to him coming. And then also we're hoping to raise some money from this. So we're still working on the details of the raffle. We'll have that list out shortly, hopefully, but definitely come out. There's going to be some good raffle items. Liz can tell you about one in particular that would be fun to bid on. And then also I hear Lakers tickets might be available to bid on. So that might be something interesting, you know, come buy some raffle tickets. The proceeds will come to our organizations and help us do what we do for the community. Next slide. So that's September 16th from 4 to 10 p.m. week from Saturday. So it's going to be at Kellogg Park. Next slide. And here's just a general layout. So like I said, in the front, we have basically space to dance. We'll have the stage, food trucks lined up, some parking on the side. I know not enough. I'll get to that in a second. And then some tables and chairs in the middle. We're also going to have community partners have booths. So you can learn about different information from those community partners. And then in the back, we have the kids zone area. We're planning on getting a Jolly Jumper so that'll be something. And then obviously there's slides and swings and stuff for the kids to play. Next slide. So it's very interesting in this part of town, not a lot of parking, especially if you're coming from the other side of town. Obviously, if you live in this side of town, hopefully you just walk to the park. But we know a lot of people on the east side that are interested might want to have some parking if you can't take the bus or walk over here. So over on Bell Way, there's a big empty lot that the owner was gracious enough to let us borrow. Not entirely sure how many cars would fit there, but it's a pretty big lot. So I think we can fit, I'm just spitballing, I don't know, 70 to 100 cars over there. So hopefully that will help alleviate some of the congestion and parking that we anticipate that day. Next slide. Next. And yeah, that's all I got. Again, here's the flyer. So any questions on that? Yes, Matt. Yeah, so this year, yeah, so the question was food from the trucks, how do we buy them? So it's just going to be direct cash sales when you go up to them. Oh, unmuted. Is it on?
Hello.
Great. All right. That'll go in the raffle as well. So there's another one. Appreciate that. Thank you for getting that, Maria. Hopefully it helps us raise some more. Any other questions? All right. Hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. And I will say he does a really good job handling the microphone. So all of that noise you heard was me trying to figure it out. So I apologize. And then I'm Councilmember Campos, is there anything you'd like to add to the presentation? I know we were going to discuss, and I can do so you guys may be aware there are fall activities. We had a summer activities catalog. Right now the fall is out. It should pop up behind me here shortly, but there's lots of information. It's a free resource, information on things that seniors and adults can do. Lots of fun classes that can be taken. There's also scholarships available for programs. Perfect. And we don't have to go through the whole thing, but just enough to see, I guess. Let's go to page 2 since it has the youth scholarships. So, thank you. Okay, so there's a link to see if for financial assistance to help pay for class and camp fees. So go online, fill that out. I believe this document's also in Spanish, should be. If not, please let us know. But this not just kids, there's also tons of things to do for adults. Marco, just go through random couple pages. I think I saw, oh, that's actually perfect. Go back up one page, sorry. I had a listing of all the different stuff. Okay, well there's some stuff there too. I saw ping pong. I saw, okay, thank you. Bowling, Wii bowling, bingo, drop-in activities, Tai Chi, billiards. So lots of fun stuff available. And we can also share that link on our Facebook page. And then the last item that our council member wanted me to bring up was that there's a free mulch program offered to residents. There's a link online as well. So City of Ventura is now offering the free compost and mulch program to city residents. So if you need a small amount of compost, and if you are able to easily shovel it, this is an option. You can also bring your truck or trailer. And then lastly, if you need a lot or if you don't have a truck, you can get it delivered. So the city website has all that information as well. Do we have any questions on any of these activities? For the mulch program? From my understanding, this is just ongoing. So there's an Agrimin. It's like a food waste recycling center. I don't know the exact address off the top of my head. She was just wondering the duration of this resource for the community and where it is. So I believe this is offered year round and there's a centralized location. I don't know the address off the top of my head, but we could pull it up if we need to. The city website has all of the information you could ever need, and we can share that as well. Cornucopia Community Gardens. I don't have the address for that one, but yeah. Oh, 1 second, just 1 second for the line. Pardon?
Is this just for the residents of the city? I live outside the city limits.
So I know the city is offering it to Ventura residents, but I do believe that anyone in the county could participate. Don't quote me on that, maybe. It's correct for now. Thank you, Councilmember Campos, putting her name on the record. So just kidding. Any other questions? Do we have any questions on Zoom? I'm going to run over there and check real quick. Looks like we're good. Okay, great. Councilmember, did you have anything you want to say?
So first of all, I want to apologize that we didn't have the patrol report from PD yet. We're doing some outreach and trying to find out if they're coming or what's going on. If they don't show up, we'll try and get this month's maps on the website. You can do that, right? Yeah, well, we can't answer some of the questions they can answer. But if you have the maps, you can always put them up for any questions. There's a lot going on in the upcoming city council agenda. It looks like it may be a very long meeting, but I think that consent items will move quickly. There's a lot of concern by many people about the continuing contract for the general plan with Ramey and Associates. And I believe council's idea is during the pandemic, we had many times when we were shut down or cut off and couldn't really complete the process properly. And he has employees to pay. So that's coming as an agenda item in consent. I personally would like all of you to send your opinions about whether it should be continuing or not. Additionally, there's the general plan's zoning program is coming to this meeting, and it's complicated and hard to read, but if each of you just takes responsibility for your neighborhood as it relates to that plan and email us at City Council. City Council really wants to hear from the public your ideas or what you want in the general plan. We can just do it all, but it's better if there's input. I know Pete's committee, the GPAC committee's been working on this for months and months. Planning Commission, I heard, took 2 days to go through it. And it is a lot of reading, but we need to get it right this time. So the way to email us is to the city clerk at cityofventura.ca.gov. And in the subject line, put all council members, and it'll get distributed to all of us. And then there's not some of us getting different pieces than others. We also have some items at the end of the agenda, different policy items. And one of them is the State Assembly and the State Senate are working on a project for single payer health insurance to be offered to everyone in the state. Everyone isn't required to take it, but particularly cities and counties and other government entities will be encouraged to utilize it. We calculate that it would save over $700,000 a year to the city of Ventura and that much to the state government who subsidizes our health insurance. And if you apply that statewide, it would free up a huge sum of money, and it would take the burden off of individual doctors and hospitals to care for indigent people, because they will be insured under this Senate bill. The Assembly bill's on hold waiting for the Senate's amendments to go through. So we'd like to hear about that also as a council, as council members. And we're not voting on the bill, but we're voting on a proclamation in support of it. So that's very important if people will let us know what you think. Yes. You have a question?
Check. Have you been getting any notices about the Avenue residents losing their home insurance? No.
No, I haven't heard anything about
so
that.
I just found out that I'm losing my home insurance, and we've been recategorized as a high risk fire zone. So I'm pretty much looking at my home insurance tripling on the Avenue. And so I think we really need to work with our state representatives, because I'm looking at a payment of $1,300 going to $3,600 or $3,700 a year for worse insurance. And it just shows, I'm really happy that the emergency official was here tonight, and we're starting that survey, but it really shows, we've been waiting for 6 years, and at least private industry is now considering this a high risk we know from the map that we have on our own website that we actually are enclosed in the high risk fire zone at the Avenue and West Main Street. They're anticipating that could all be on fire during a crisis. So I think we really need to start informing the community about how acute this crisis is, and that many people who probably, luckily I'm a high school teacher that makes an okay salary, but a lot of people don't make as much money as I do, and they're going to be looking at losing their insurance very quickly, and it's going to triple, and they're going to have inferior insurance, and that's going to be crippling for a lot of our community members. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. And I will, tonight, when I finish the meeting, I'll email our representatives, Lamone and Bennett. And if you have an opportunity, I know you're busy at this time of year, but if you have an opportunity to send an email to the whole council through the city clerk.
Sure.
And just ask us to put that on an agenda, because I think cities reaching out to the state insurance board will help.
Well, I guess, yeah, I think city officials were reaching out to the state and putting pressure on them to resolve the crisis is huge, but also just looking at, as we're approaching the general plan right now, we have 14,000 people that have to exit through a severe fire hazard zone, right? And I'm not anti-development, but I think I am if we're at a point where we can't even get regular insurance here, and we're looking at loading more people onto if there's an earthquake and the 33 is damaged and there's a fire from a gas compressor or from gas lines or anything like that, we all have to exit through one spot, and that's really not a good situation. So we really, this is no longer an abstract situation. It's becoming very acute, and it's going to hit the pocketbooks of Avenue residents very quickly, because I've never filed a claim. I've always paid on time, and I'm having my insurance revoked. So
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Any other questions?
State Farm, but I've literally called 20 different insurance companies, and nobody will offer me non-fair homeowners insurance right now. It's a major insurance crisis in California, especially for our neighborhood that's been redesignated as a high fire zone. So in the newspapers, you've probably seen that there's a homeowners insurance crisis in California, but now all of the companies, the separate crisis is that they've redesignated this neighborhood as a high fire zone. So we're pretty much all moving into going into the FAIR program, which is triple the rates with inferior service. I got two people talking about it. Sure.
I just renewed my State Farm home insurance, and it was pretty much the same, but maybe because I still stay with State Farm from where I lived before, further up north. And my information is that State Farm will keep the same customers. I heard nothing about tripling the price. But they will not take any new customers.
So is the FAIR program the state insurance of last resort? Is that what you're referring to? So we have a state insurance commissioner, and their role historically has been to protect the citizens of the state from, gouging from the insurance company. So there may be some remedy through that route, pushing our state legislators to request some help.
I'm sorry if I misspoke. State Farm isn't gouging me. State Farm is removing my insurance, and now I have to go out and find new insurance, which I can't find. Therefore, the triple rate is coming from the FAIR program, because I have to buy the FAIR insurance, and then I have to buy a wraparound insurance related to that. And that comes out to, the estimates right now are $3,700 a year, whereas previously my insurance was $1,300 a year, right? So what I'm not making it up. Stephanie Sipes is my insurance agent, and you could talk to her about it, but I have State Farm and I'm being removed from State Farm. Yeah. They're dropping me, yes.
So I would like to recommend that the Westside Community Council, because this will disproportionately affect the West Side just because of the financial makeup of the neighborhood here. Do possibly a collaborative workshop with the city if we can get more information, or bring in our legislators and see if we can come up with a way to protect our residents from the insurance problem and push a little harder for the recognition that an evacuation plan alone won't help if we add thousands of more residents.
Maybe it's time to look at fire shelters in the neighborhoods. Someplace, a safe place to go when the fire's coming through.
Yeah. Do you have plans drawn up for one for us?
There are plans available. Oasis design. Art Ludwig up in Carpinteria has some cob buildings and basically clay structures that would be like an ADU accessory dwelling unit, like a granny flat that would function as a fire shelter in case fire comes through. You don't have time to escape. You go into the shelter, close the door, and wait till the fire passes.
Thank you. We'll add that in. Okay, give me one more minute. So Marco didn't have the courage to say it. He wanted me to tell you, if you come to the event at Kellogg Park on the 16th, in addition to Lakers tickets auctioned off, you will have an opportunity to, at auction, purchase a meal with myself and the new city manager so we can debate the West Side attitude versus the cop attitude. And I'm handing off to Helen now.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And then, oh, here's your cell phone, Liz. I just wanted to add one more thing on the emergency preparedness fire discussion. So previously, when there was like torrential downpour and we were all very concerned about the hillside and the stability of the hillside, one of the big issues that was identified to us, the board members of the WCC, was not a lot of folks who are in the immediate danger zone, so to speak, are enrolled in VC Alert. So that's one of the few kind of services that would tell you pretty quickly if something's happening in the neighborhood or if you had to evacuate. So if we could just, I don't know, through your own neighborhoods, inspire other people to visit the website and sign up for text and email alerts. Because I know we're interested in having CERT teams and people go to each block and we rely on firefighters, but if we could just get the message out at one time to everybody, it could help us work on if animals need to be evacuated or others with special needs and whatnot. Oh, okay. Okay. So I will put a pin in the patrol report. Okay. So we'll circle back to the patrol report when the officer has finished his service call, and then the West Side Resources report. The WCDC staff was unable to make it tonight. So basically the fall resource guide consists of the update available for the season. There's ongoing programs with youth that the WCDC works on. I know they do an aerosol art, so spray painting murals for kids, They also have scholarships for kids who want to work at the STEM center or do some work at the STEM center, I should say. So again, that's a environment with like shop equipment, and they create their own product and they bring it to market and they sell it. And a lot of their goods are actually being sold at EcuGreen on Main Street in downtown year round. I think Ventura maybe also has some products from our local Westside students. So encourage folks to check that out. There's scholarships available. And that's all I can remember off the top of my head, but I'm sure we'll have much more for you next month. And with that being said, we'll move along to our open comment period. So, all right, I saw one hand shoot up already. So you can come up here if you're comfortable, or if you can. Perfect. So go ahead.
Hi. How many people like food? Almost everybody. So we were having a celebration of pure food at the fairgrounds from next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the 12th, 13th, and 14th. So the Heirloom Festival has been up in Sonoma County for 9 years, a little hiatus with this COVID thing. And now they have come to our fairgrounds right down the street here. And it will be a celebration of all these different varieties that our grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents ate and enjoyed. And so there will be a seed swap from, I think, 2 to 6 p.m. every day. Rincon Vitova Insectaries and Sierra Club and the permaculture designers in the area will be having booths there. Lots of people will be showing all their resources for gardening and small scale farming. So y'all come, there's some flyers on the back table and such. It should be a fun time. Thanks.
Okay, if there's any other folks in the room, anyone on Zoom, raise your hand or just blurt out. I don't think we have any more open comments. Okay, so we'll move along to old business. So I don't think we put it on the agenda this month, but interpretation services continue at City Hall. We urge our residents to utilize them, especially on September 11th, when we talk about very important things like the draft land use maps and some other policy considerations are coming up. So just FYI, if you want interpretation service or want to tell your friend how to get it, so you go past the doors and then you go to the back of the chambers, and there's a room back there where you can grab a headset, and that's how you'll receive interpretation services. We also have a number of phone numbers behind me, I believe. Okay, great. So these are some of the hot topics that we hear on the board. So Pothole Hotline, can't get enough of that. So anytime you guys see a pothole, go ahead, call it in. You could also report it other ways. I know Pete did a presentation on it during a previous meeting. Streetlights, graffiti, trees that are obstructing sidewalks, traffic sign, public right of way, garbage can, recycling bins. The illegal dumping number, we're going to confirm because okay. 3999. Is that, oh, that the last four should be 3999. So correction for the illegal dumping. Thank you. We blame the city, but it's fine. We love the city. How do I report abandoned shopping cart? Phone number should be up there as well. So a lot of these are also on the city website, FAQs. We're happy to also submit any inquiries or service requests. We found that when we do it, city staff, the first thing they'll say is, did you call the hotline or did you report it that way? So we want to make sure that we all respond and say, yes, we did. Where is the follow-up? That's the goal. So just take note. We'll have these on hand and can point you in the right direction whenever you need them. And then we'll move along to our formal presentation. So first one, we have an update from the Westside Clean Air Coalition. What's next in the fight for environmental justice, presented by Ms. Haley Ehlers.
Tomas is also presenting with me. We think the good majority of the speakers. Okay. This is helpful for Zoom, I'm assuming. for us to use this?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, I can get started just by introducing myself. My name is Haley Ehlers, she, her pronouns. I'm the director of CFROG, or Climate First Replacing Oil and Gas, a local grassroots nonprofit dedicated to the transition away from fossil fuels to a carbon-free economy here in Ventura County. And one of our campaigns and where we're spending a lot of time is with the Westside Clean Air Coalition, where Tomas is also a member and many of you are members. So I can pass it over to him to give an intro as well. Look at that.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Tomas Morales Rebecki. I work for Food and Water Watch as the organizing manager for the Central Coast and previous treasurer for the WCC, and yeah, member of the WCAC, Westside Clean Air Coalitions.
Cool. So thank you so much for having us give this presentation. We're kind of entering some new exciting territory in the fight against the SoCal gas compressor station on Olive Street across from EP Foster Elementary. So we wanted to give an update to you all, and hopefully you all can take this update to your neighbors and others in the community to make sure that everyone knows that it's still a fight that we're fighting, and there's still many opportunities for community voices to be uplifted. So we thought we would start with kind of our agenda for tonight is kind of going over the issue. What is a compressor station? Why is it dangerous and an issue? The fight that you all have been involved in so far, why it's so important, and then a little introduction to what this new proceeding at the state will look like and how you can all get involved in it. So we have a video to start us off. The sound is just music, so it's okay if it doesn't work.
To know what happens there, because otherwise people will start talking about it and people will start doing something about it.
When our health and our safety are under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back! Hey, hey, ho, ho, the gas compressor's not enough! What do we want? Environmental justice! What do we want? Now! We don't want this in our community.
Sweet. That's a first showing. So yeah, our partners and coalition members at Patagonia helped us make that happen. So you'll see that on social media, hopefully sometime soon. And I can pass it over to Tomas.
So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what a gas compressor is, because a lot of people that aren't in the oil industry or know this stuff, what does a gas compressor do? So to get gas from the oil fields to the storage facilities, to your houses, to your stoves, it needs to keep a steady line of pressure. So every few miles or so, they need to keep that pressure. They'll have compressor stations, not every few miles. Like, see, there's not too many compressors, but they need to keep that steady flow going. So these are like big jet engines. The one right here has 3 big compressors, and they spontaneously will let out pressure at times too. If the pressure gets too high, they do planned releases. So no matter what, these facilities are always leaking, either unplanned or planned leaking. That's what they're meant to do. They're meant to relieve pressure. And usually they don't have compressor stations this close to population centers. It's usually 1.5 miles or more. But just because of our neighborhood and the situation we're in, we've been dealing with this for this long, and with the health effects too. And you can go to the next slide. And as you can see, we talked about decades of pollution. So we're not just talking about like, this is made up stuff. Like they'll say that this is natural gas. It's not going to be harmful for you, but there's other stuff in there in small amounts. But when there's a huge leak, that's a huge amount, like mercaptan or these other carcinogens like benzene are found in small amounts. And that causes nosebleeds, headaches. And this is from our Ventura County Air Pollution Control District. So it shows reports, goes back to 1998. There used to be a Kinko's building where the school district building is. That got filled with gas. That building is so far away. That building got filled with gas. People had to leave because they're burning of eyes, throats, headaches. And there's other complaints too. And this goes back. And this is just people that know how to complain to the VCAPCD, not the average person does it. So that's what we discovered. The more we've been talking to people, other people, family members, parents, talking about how they've had kids with bloody noses or have asthma. And two, when they're playing in the fields, that they'll start getting bloody noses. So this is not just made up. This is documented. And then at the very bottom, we see like what happens when they do get caught for violations by our local air pollution control district. Back in 2016, not too far ago, they removed a building without doing proper asbestos removal, $1,000. Like, that's $1 billion corporation. Like, that's like beyond like a slap on the wrist. That's like a blowing on their wrist. Like, so it's cost less just to do stuff the wrong way and worry about it later. So this is the type of company that we're dealing with. This is the history we're dealing with this facility alone. So you can go to the next slide. So on top of that, if that wasn't worse enough, back in 2017, NASA did a flyover of California looking for methane hotspots, and they figured out that a majority of the methane coming in California is from a third of these hotspots and major producers. One of them they caught on the camera was a SoCal gas facility. It had been leaking. We don't even know how long, because the leak was discovered and then they fixed it 2 years later. So even after they discovered this, there was 2 years that this was still leaking. And we don't know how long it leaked before that. So as you can see, that gas was everywhere on the fields, depending on the day, depending on the wind pattern. So that's this facility. So we kind of knew about this before we heard about oil remediation plans at the soil for the facility. So you can go to the next site. So come 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, end of the year, around the holiday times, Department of Toxic Substance Control sends out a notice to people within a quarter mile of the gas storage facility saying, hey, we're going to be doing this very complicated soil remediation and removal with all these toxic soil elements. Do you want to comment on this very complicated remedial action work plan? And they sent this in the middle of the pandemic. Like, people don't have access to like comment on that, send a letter back to DTSC. So I first heard about it because I, at the time, was living 2 blocks from the facility. I never got a notice. Matt got a notice, and you got a notice, right? You're within a quarter mile. So they didn't send it to the parents. They didn't send it to anybody else. I heard about it from Suze Montgomery, actually. Rest in peace. God bless her soul. I was raising good trouble. She sent me an email with a bunch of other people that had gotten the notice and said, hey, like, what are we all going to do about this? So luckily, I work for an environmental organization. We have a lot of resources. I sent it to our research team. They looked into it, made some comments, recommendations. We talked to other organizations, Sierra Club, Sea Frog. We all kind of came to an agreement on like, what are some things we want to ask for before the deadline while we get our comments in. And two of the biggest things we wanted was a bilingual community hearing. So people could get questions. We can actually respond to it, not just a letter in the mail. And also an EIR, an environmental impact report. So we know that's done in the safest way possible. And on top of that, our research team went over the raw and like picked it apart and like said, you guys should be doing this, should be doing that, like other stuff about using better streets and just like other stuff too about making the cleanup even better. So at this time, we didn't even know there was a compressor going on. So we signed the letter, like WCC was signed on, all these great coalition members too. We sent that letter to the Department of Toxic Substance Control, and this was the response. You can go to the next. A month later, this was the response. So we had a list of questions. A lot of us, all the different questions were answered, but with like copy and paste answers. When we asked for to do a community hearing with people in bilingual, they said, thank you for your comment, but we did not conduct a public hearing based on the lack of interest in the project. And we even mentioned too, it was during the pandemic, like, how can you say this is like adequate amount of outreach? And we said we should be talking to the parents too. These are the people that are going to be there the most, the kids that are affected. They should talk to the parents and the families and send notices to them. And then so we got back that disrespectful letter. Okay, like, so we like, what are we gonna do? And like at the time we had already started organizing a lot, and like the Westside Clean Air Coalition was starting to come to a form. And we decided like, all right, we got to show them that like we do care. There is not a lack of interest. So that's when we started organizing, and so many different community members too. You can just mention James Brem was like a huge part of that in the very beginning. We lost him to New Jersey, but he was a great friend, and it was just great. A lot of different organizations, Sierra Club Patagonia came up, stepped up to bat too financially. Margot, Liz, Campos was huge too in the beginning. So we started call-in days. You can go to the next slide too. We started call-in days to the PUC to like make sure that it's on their radar. We got the city to pass a resolution calling for our same exact demands. We got the school district to pass a resolution calling for our same exact demands. And we held a rally with 150 people on March 30th, just a month later after they gave us that response, because we knew we had to act fast if we wanted our legislators to do something and if we wanted some actual accountability. So after this rally, we actually got, because we mentioned DTSC in this press release, and they were getting some bad press already throughout the state. So the assembly members and State Senator Limon got in contact with the DTSC, and they really wanted to meet with us now. And they're like, hey, we're so sorry we ignored y'all, because like their funding was up before the assembly too. So like, it's not a coincidence that they all of a sudden started paying attention to us. But yeah, so then we were just getting more. Everyone kept saying, oh, we can't do anything. The city's like, it's not in our jurisdiction. Everyone's like, it's not in our jurisdiction. And nobody wanted to do a hearing. Nobody was still giving us answers. Liz Campos was, Councilmember Campos was chair of the WCC at the time. She invited SoCal Gas. She invited DTSC to come and present. They didn't want to come. They were very secretive about it. So it was very hilarious that they're like, oh, we've always been open, like when they were presenting last month here. I actually came here 2 years ago. So it was funny. No, actually I didn't come here. It was on Zoom because it was still a pandemic. It's funny, 2 years later, we're giving a new update with a lot of great news. But it took not just this rally, it took another rally. We had another one in July with 300 people. You did a little, a kind of little, we were actually going to do, actually, I shouldn't talk about any of that. Never mind. Anyways, we had a very successful rally with 300 people in July. And we put together our own community hearing with the help of DTSC, with the help of State Senator Limon and Senator Bennett. We got the PUC's president to come. It was in August. We had it at Data Elementary School. It was bilingual. We had people able to like communicate their concerns to the president of the PUC. And the principal of EP Foster spoke out, the superintendent. It was just like the community was unified, and it was clear that we didn't want this there, and we wanted an EIR. So coincidentally, the night before that hearing, the president of the PUC sent us a letter and sent SoCal Gas a letter to pause all procurements and all construction on the site and give more information and have a public hearing like we wanted. So that was one of our first huge victories, getting that pause and really just getting what we wanted, a community hearing. We did what they didn't want to do. We did it for them, and we got a pause. So you can go to the next slide. So this is not a new thing. SoCal Gas, they're $1 billion corporation. They're huge. They have a history of bad track records. They just an hour south of here in at their Aliso Canyon facility near Porter Ranch. They had the biggest gas leak in U.S. history for over 6 months. Family members had to evacuate. People are still suffering health effects to this day. La Goleta storage facility. So the reason they use this gas compressor too is to keep gas coming from Aliso Canyon to the La Goleta. There's another storage facility like Aliso Canyon next to the college in UC Santa Barbara. It's called La Goleta Storage Facility. So that facility too is also over the years had a lot of leaks and reports. They even had to buy braces because there's a mobile home community next to there. And there's so much shaking. They had to buy braces for the mobile home communities because it shakes a lot. So they are not good neighbors wherever they are. It's not safe to have this type of infrastructure next to homes, next to schools, especially next to where kids play. And we know this, and it's time to move it. If they do need it, it's time to move it. And it's the perfect time to move it now while they're going to be tearing it down. So next slide. I think Oh, perfect. Yeah. So the other thing too, so I think, like I said, they're trying to rewrite the narrative that, oh, we've always been open with the community. We forced them to have those hearings because the PUC forced them to. Now they're trying to make it seem like we've been open with the community. We're listening to the community. And even though we didn't want them to do the soil remediation without an EIR, they moved forward with it. But they implemented a lot of the stuff that we said in that first comment letter, like using the back road, don't go in the front road. A lot of this stuff they told us that was impossible at first. We still got that in this cleanup. So this cleanup is happening despite we don't think it should have happened. It should have been all part of the same EIR. Shouldn't have been piecemealed out like this, but they know how to work the system. So I think it's comical. And now they're trying to greenwash too. They do this all the time. So a lot of organizations take money from them and they do this to get PR. It's like, it's not charitable. It's like free PR for them. Like, it's like paid up. Yeah. So Heal the Bay. So there's another facility too in Playa del Rey, and our organizers down there have been working with them closely too. They got Heal the Bay to stop taking money from them because not only are they polluting communities, and they're actually using ratepayer money to undermine legislation. They've been caught multiple times using ratepayer money, which is illegal. So they're using the money that you pay, that they're supposed to use for like infrastructure and stuff, and they're using it to lobby to make your communities dirtier and to pollute and make the planet worse. So they've been caught multiple times, LA Times. So after that, Heal the Bay is like, all right, that's enough. Like, we cannot be giving them free PR and letting them greenwash themselves on us. So yeah, that's the tactics that SoCal Gas does, that a lot of oil industries, a lot of other industries do, and other stuffs too. So just wanted to point that out. And this is one of their most recent newsletters, doing a little greenwashing with the Boys and Girls Club or Ventura Land Trust, stuff like that too. So yeah, I think that was it for my part.
Cool. Awesome. So I can now give an update on where we're at in the process. It's been a few years now. We've made some really amazing accomplishments, and we've even set precedent for other communities, which is awesome. So we, for a long time, gas facilities like this were slipping through permitting decisions. Like, decisions weren't actually being made by a decision-making body. They were being decisions like for expansion, like is being proposed at this facility, were being slipped in things called general rate cases, which is an application that utility providers submit to the California Public Utilities Commission to explain the rate that they're charging their customers. So, you know, explaining, oh, we're going to do these improvements. It costs this much. This is how it divides to what a ratepayer would cost, or a ratepayer would pay. So this particular expansion was included as a ratepayer in the ratepayer case. That general rate case has no environmental review, no consideration of public health or environmental justice. It really is only a method to provide justification for the prices. So our first big accomplishment in the legal on the legal side, with all of the amazing momentum that communities were building around these rallies and community-led town halls, was moving this particular decision out of the general rate case and into a new proceeding that's more appropriate for this type of decision, with, you know, that will have major environmental impacts, have poses big threats to community members and children specifically. So we're now entering into a certificate of public convenience and necessity, or a CPCN, which none of this rolls off the tongue. But essentially, this is a new proceeding at the Public Utilities Commission at the state level. And this whole proceeding will only be about this compressor station, which is awesome. It has two components. So, first I'll mention that not only did we were successful in getting it moved into this more appropriate process, we were also successful in getting a state rulemaking passed by the CPUC that actually requires this process across the state for any expansion of natural gas facilities, major expansion. So that's really awesome that we can help other communities who might have similar issues in the next few years. So currently we're at the very top. The PEA, SoCal Gas on August 24th submitted the PEA, which is the application to get this process started. They submitted it to the CPUC Unsurprisingly, it's exactly the same as it always has been. They're proposing the same expansion, the same location, the same logistics, which is really frustrating because many of you know they've had these community events where we've been very clear in our demands and what we want. And they're saying, you know, based on community feedback, we believe this is the best way. So they just applied for that piece. So we're getting started. Then on the left here is the environmental review. So another win for us is that we're going to get an environmental review of the site, which hasn't been done. We're hoping to get a full environmental impact report, or EIR, which I think our legal team thinks is likely possible just because of the politics surrounding this, but also so much community engagement and interest in wanting to learn more. So that will happen on the left side, sort of separately from the proceeding. And then on the right side is the hearing, sort of the decision-making process that the CPUC will go through. And as you can see, there'll be public participation and hearings right in the middle, and then also hearings at the end, and then also hearings at the proposed decision. So at each of these hearings, community members will have the opportunity to speak, to provide comment, to give testimony, which is really important. So definitely everyone keep this in mind. We'll continue to give out action alerts on how you can get involved in making your voice heard during these opportunities. But during this section, in addition to the environmental review, SoCalGas will have to justify the compressor. They'll have to argue that it is necessary and that it fits within the standards and the context of the location that it's in. So they will have to argue that this is the best place. Across the street from an elementary school is the best place for this. So we'll see how those arguments come together. Yeah, so this is the next process that we're entering. We don't have hard timelines yet. It'll likely be in the fall, and then it will be lengthy, likely over a year until we get a final decision. So I think that's the last slide, other than, contact information, and then following us on social media or on our website, and happy to answer any questions. Also, I'll pass around a sign-on sheet. If you're not already on our email list, feel free to sign up here.
So what is the status quo at the facility right now?
So right now, the actual compressor station is operating like it has. Yeah, there's been no changes there, but they are moving forward with toxic soil. Well, they're actually done. Yeah. They're almost done with the toxic soil remediation. It was supposed to be planned only in the summertime. And again, they sort of piecemealed these issues. Like the expansion of the compressor is a Public Utilities Commission decision, and the soil contamination was a Toxic Substance Department decision. So that's kind of the difference there. They were supposed to finish the toxic soil remediation in the summertime when kids weren't at school, but they've had to extend it because they found more toxic soil on the facility that they're arguing has to do with the trucking company, and they're going to also remediate that.
And this was exactly what we commented. We commented in our first comment back in 2021 that they need to go deeper because they were only going to go like 5 inches in some parts. And like historically it was showing that it needs to go a lot deeper. And like, surprise, surprise, like once they start digging, oh, there's more toxic stuff. And there's lead, asbestos, not just simple little.
Yeah.
Not a question, but I want to acknowledge also Maria Davalos and Francisco Figueroa, Matt Bello, who had to leave the meeting because of his work, were from the very first day on the ground with this. The Shumash elder and her counterparts or her cousins were there with us to bless this effort to save our environment and our community.
Exactly. Yes. And I had like this long list too. I have Manos Unidos there too. And yeah, everyone too, in case. But you were in the pictures too, so.
James, go ahead.
If not that, James, then
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can you all hear me? Okay, awesome. So sorry. Yeah, James Forsyth, trustee for District 1 for Ventura Unified. I just want to thank you all for all that you're doing. Let me do my face. I just got out of a meeting, so I do apologize for not being there today, but I just wanted to thank you all, Tomas, all of you, Steve Frog, Food and Roch for really looking out for Ventura Unified kids, especially arguing and advocating for our clean air, a safe place to grow up in, and possibly not a bomb that's located next to one of our schools. So again, I really appreciate it. I guess my question is, Ventura Unified has come out in the beginning against this expansion, and we've kind of been in partnership with the Westside Clean Air Coalition and our community members. But what can we do more? I know that our superintendent's been in contact with SoCal Gas, but is there more that we can do as maybe a board or as some kind of organizing body or anything like that? I guess that's just what can we do to help make sure that this compressor station does not expand?
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'll also mention that I think we still use a document that is like owned by James's Google account as our agenda. So it takes a village. Yes. So two things that come to mind. One, like give testimony in the official process as VUSD trustees and other administrators. I think that would be really powerful to hear from other elected officials and other agency representatives here locally that feel strongly about protecting children and providing clean air. So that would be one thing. So how you would do that, just stay involved with action alerts. Maybe we even set up a separate call to action for the school district specifically, if we can provide more helpful information to help craft those messages. And then second, we do have a meeting with the superintendent this Friday. So I'm excited to give an update to him and other staff members. But I think just any amount of outreach or outreach to parents, or just helping parents connect with us as a resource to make sure that everyone knows that it's still being fought and that there are opportunities to get involved. I don't know, Tomas, if you know.
No, exactly. And yeah, I wanted to thank James too, another parent here on the West Side. And he, was huge throughout the fight too. And I think, just like Haley was saying, just keep on showing up to like the big hearings that like Dr. Rice speaking out, or just having like the principal too speaking at those things was huge for us. But also like, we're going to be meeting on Friday with them. We're trying to get our information out to them. Just like we have this presentation here, we want to do something a little bigger, but invite like more parents and like canvass them. So we're going to look for more ideas, but I just wanted to say Ventura Charter did send out a Parent Square notification for one of our rallies. So if the school district could do that, that'd be awesome.
Okay, fantastic. I'll relay that to him, but you're going to be seeing Dr. Castro soon anyways, but I'll definitely forward that on to our board president. Again, I just want to thank you all. I mean, this has really been helpful. I love this community. This community's really come out strong to protect kids and to protect our neighbors. So thank you all again.
hello. You hear me? Okay? Yeah, to me, this is Jim, another Jim. Yeah. There's a lot of history in this, in that trying to do and getting flyers about every 2 weeks or so on nice things they're trying to do. And I'm thinking, 100 years ago, 23, what they were trying to do didn't really matter because nobody lived out there. The city has grown around the plant. They just need to move. That's the big thing. And a side note, the Aliso Canyon place, they want to expand that too. And those people are not going to be happy there. So maybe we coordinate with them.
Yeah, we've definitely been since the beginning. Like we reached out to them because My boss at the time, Alex Nagy, she has been organizing. Her family lives in the San Fernando Valley, and she was organizing at least so before it even had the explosion. So they're already there on the ground. They've been organizing, and some of our organizers are still working with them to this day. And we started meeting with them. We started like kind of like monthly meetings with Playa, Porter Ranch folks and us, and Liz and a lot of other people would join, and we kind of like share tactics and try to show up. They showed up to our July. A lot of them came out, like other elected officials from different areas too. So it's been really cool too, like on call-in days to like show unity. And then speaking to those newsletters too. Yeah, SoCal Gas, all of a sudden, after all this started happening, that's when they started sending out those bi-monthly newsletters. They're just promoting themselves and using your ratepayer money. So yeah.
This is an amazing progression. You know, the images in your initial video, you know, showed people laying down and pretending like they were dead. So what's it been the historic response of marginalized, you know, red line communities? It's to lay down and die, because, you know, there's no way to fight the company that runs the town. And so this amazing collection of people stood up and said no, and organized, that worked together, and they found their friends, you know, in the administration and so on, and are making progress. But, you know, stepping back, you know, there's so many toxins, you know, in our environment, and so we need to use this as like a learning experience, and say, okay, where else are we getting toxins? In our food, you know, in our clothes, and in our cleaning products, on and on and on. So I work in the area of pesticide reduction. We grow the good bugs that eat the bad bugs, so we help farmers get off of the toxic pesticides, and we're organizing a campaign to get off all the toxic pesticides in California. So if anybody's interested in that campaign, you know, see us, the CR Club. And we need to stand up, and whenever we see this pollution, these toxins being pushed into our neighborhoods, and you know, have our bodies assaulted with these things, we need to say, no, this is not appropriate. We want health, and we will fight for health, and we will do our best to live a healthy life. So we appreciate all the actions of all the people that went into this. It's a community activity that brought this, you know, towards a resolution. It's not resolved yet, but it looks like we can, you know, throw a monkey wrench in the works of business as usual. So appreciate all the work you guys have done.
Yeah, thanks, Ron.
And just like Haley was saying too, like we didn't just change it for our own community too. This is going to be a lasting legacy. Like anytime there's huge projects like this next to another environmental justice community, we're gonna have to go through the same environmental review now. Like that loophole doesn't exist anymore because of the organizing of everybody here. So it's huge. So yeah. They had like 10 minutes. We're like, oh.
I usually give people as long as they need. I'm a big fan of the First Amendment. So I'm gonna just move right into the next presentation, actually. So we're gonna have presentation, Ventura County Public Defender's Office, fresh start for post-conviction relief. And I believe it's gonna be presented by Miss Alma Alea. Okay, hold on. So close. Yeah, if they don't mind. I just feel bad because they've been waiting the whole time. Yeah, okay. All right, council member has recommended we start with the patrol report, so we will accommodate.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'll try to speak slowly. I tend to speak a little fast. So I got two handouts here today. One of them is going to be the last 28 days of overdose calls for service that we responded to, and the last 28 days of crimes that happened in the Westside area. So just give me a moment and I'll get those kind of distributed. While I'm doing this, just to introduce myself, I'm Officer Daniel Strautman with the Ventura Police Department. I've been a police officer with Ventura for about 10 years. Right now, I'm kind of floating all over the city. So sometimes the West End, sometimes the East End, just depends on the need that day and where I'm needed and what area of town I can help out in. I'm currently a field training officer, which I do greatly enjoy because you're influencing new officers and young minds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I just want to pass this around. So if anyone has any questions. It just depends on the calls for service and the call volume that day. So and thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sorry. Close to the mic. Okay. Is that better? There we go. I'll just hold it. This is out of my 10 years. This is the first Westside community meeting I've actually been to. So I was kind of told kind of what to talk about and what to expect. I kind of want to leave it to the floor as far as what everyone has questions about and see what I can do as far as answering those questions. Working the west side of Ventura and responding to some of the calls for service here locally. I know that kind of the common issues that we have is sometimes unlicensed food vendors, issues with vagrancy, overdose deaths, and also downtown area with the e-bikes and whatnot. So sometimes being a police officer is kind of like playing a game of whack-a-mole. So we don't really know what's entirely going on until we have members of the community actually calling us up and letting us know what's happening. And you know, hopefully, depending on what's going on in the city, we can respond to those calls sooner than later. So with that being said, does anyone have any questions or concerns about kind of what's going on in the community lately that I can maybe help answer questions to? Can I use this mic?
So I got to see these slides a little earlier today when they got sent over. There's a big cluster of look like assaults at Figueroa, right by the fairgrounds. Was that from one of the events down there, or do you know?
So from what I can tell you from the kind of the trend is that we did have a lot of major events this last summer within this time frame. So we had the X Games, which we did have one fight during the X Games. And then we also had the Ventura County Fair, which we did have a few fights from that. The issue with kind of lumping some of these stats together is that it is kind of difficult to kind of tell what specifically was that resulting from. So for example, when we respond to maybe a domestic violence call, right? During that physical domestic violence, maybe someone used some sort of tool or implement against the other person, right? So that gets counted as a assault with a deadly weapon as well. So it doesn't really give a very accurate context of what's happening. These are just kind of general crime stats in the area. But yes, from the fairgrounds is Figueroa area, as far as the increase in assaults, it would probably be likely as a result of those fights that we had during the fair and as well as during the X Games. X Games was one, I believe, and I don't know what the number of fights that we had at the Ventura County Fair total were offhand, but I do know briefing with some of the officers that worked at the X Games, there's only one.
Any other questions? I don't see any on Zoom.
Yeah, while I get a chance. How is the bike? It's not really a prohibition because still bikes allowed on Main Street, but how's that working out?
So the bike prohibition is, I'm gonna be honest, it's a little difficult from a law enforcement standpoint to actually enforce because a lot of times by the time we get there, what the frustrating part is by the time we show up, everyone's gone. And however, I wouldn't discourage people from still contacting the police or calling the police. The reason is that we base a lot of our focus patrols or our directed patrols based on the call volume that we're receiving in a certain area. So just to kind of further explain what we mean by a focus patrol is that if an officer has some downtime, a call will be generated and popped up on the screen like, hey, hang out in this area for 10, 15, 30 minutes, however long you're available for, just to at least have a presence in the area, if nothing else, and also conduct proactive enforcement in that area. So that way it's kind of beneficial for the officer because sometimes on our days off, we don't necessarily have a full rundown of what happened in that area of the city. So it kind of gives us kind of a Cliff's Notes of like, hey, we're seeing a crime trend in this location. Can we have an officer go ahead and respond to that location and hang out in the area a little bit and do some sort of directed patrol related to e-bikes or whatnot. I know with the e-bike issue specifically, our traffic unit has been working very closely with patrol because obviously there's more patrol officers than there are motor officers in the department. So in order to assist with further traffic enforcement of the e-bikes, it's a really kind of interesting time with these bikes just because you got young kids that are riding them like bicycles, but they should really be treated kind of like motorcycles almost, right? So, you know, we're all kids once, we all like to have fun on bikes, but I think now that they go a little bit faster, there's an element of danger that's associated with that sometimes kids don't really think about, or necessarily parents don't think about. I've witnessed several kids running red lights, running stop signs, helmets unstrapped, you know, and it's not one of those things that when we do stop and reduce enforcement action that we want to hammer these kids for being e-bikes. It's a safety issue. You know, when I was 12 years old, I took a spill over the handlebars, knocked all my front teeth out, you know, and that was just on a regular bike. That wasn't on an e-bike. So I can imagine what it'd be like at a greater speed. So with the, most of it is our motor officers educating our patrol officers on what enforcement action can be taken. And more extreme cases, we did have a e-bike pursuit that ended up with the e-bike being impounded. Parents were pretty shocked about that. So, but that was a more severe case where I can't recall all the details because I wasn't on that call necessarily, but there was plenty of chances to yield, pull over, knew that they were being stopped by the police, and they decided not to stop. So yes, with the downtown bike problems that we've been having, I'd still encourage folks to still call the police department. I just ask the community's patience sometimes because depending on what's going on in the city, our dispatchers do have to triage calls and send officers to those calls that might take a little bit more precedence as far as if someone's being currently injured or battered or whatnot. It gets frustrating because, like I said earlier, sometimes being a police officer is like playing that game of whack-a-mole where you know you're thumping one area and then all of a sudden something pops up over here and you gotta thump that area. So yeah.
We had one question on Zoom from James. You can go ahead and unmute yourself when you're ready.
Hi, officer. Thank you so much for coming to see us today. I just wanted to thank the police department for locating a few of our students. We have a few that went missing and a couple that went missing recently, and they're, you know, I'm really thankful that they're returned home very safely and sound. And we also have some other issues going around the district that I don't know if I'm at liberty to talk about yet, but I really do appreciate Ventura Police Department for supporting our schools and supporting our students during those very difficult times. So thank you.
Thank you, James.
Maria, did you have a question, comment? And I don't see anyone else on Zoom, so I think we're good with your patrol report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
And then I will now re-invite up our Ventura County Public Defender's presentation. Thank you. Then just all the way up for on.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alma Ayala, and I am one of the 2 post-conviction law clerks at the Ventura County Public Defender's Office. Next slide, please. So the unit I work with is the Fresh Start unit. It started last year around March, and we pretty much handle homeless court, we handle expungements, reductions from felonies to misdemeanors, and SB 384, which is sex offender registration removal, and more things. Prior convictions and court fines can limit employment, prevent getting a driver's license, limit housing, limit volunteer opportunities, and affect family life. Next slide, please. So this is pretty much what I already covered. Next slide, please. So homeless court. Homeless court is a special court session where our clients could basically do community service hours in order to pay fines and fees by doing those community service hours. Next slide, please. So individuals with traffic infractions can participate with an approved nonprofit agency to have their open or collection case, fines and fees satisfied upon completion of community service and or treatment hours. So all infractions are eligible for homeless court. Some misdemeanors with DA approval, but no felonies are eligible for homeless court unless they're reduced to misdemeanors by our Fresh Start unit. Next slide, please. Thank you. So applicant eligibility. So you have to be currently homeless, recent history of homelessness, or in the risk of being homeless. So a lot of our clients think that they don't qualify because they're not homeless. But if you were to pay off these fines and fees, would you be homeless because you wouldn't be able to make rent? Most of the time, the answer is yes. Therefore, you would be eligible to participate in our homeless court program. Next slide, please. So these are the infractions and the misdemeanors that would be eligible with DA approval to participate in homeless court. For homeless court, you would have to go to our office and a paralegal would screen you and let you know how many hours you would have to complete for which case in order to be eligible and participate in homeless court. Like I stated previously, all fines and fees, pre-plea and post-conviction for infractions are eligible, and misdemeanors, post-conviction fines and fees, but no victim restitution or diversion fees would be eligible. Can homeless court help with DMV holds? And the answer is yes. Driver's license holds can be cleared once we handle the ticket in homeless court. The court will send a code to the DMV lifting the hold. And if our paralegals see that you have a hold, they prioritize that case so you don't get another case for driving without a license or on a suspended license. Who are the approved providers? So drug programs, sober living programs, homeless shelters such as Mercy House, National Health Foundation, and any nonprofit agency, including church or any other places of worship, but no organization or agency that involves contact with children. So you wouldn't be able to do your hours in places such as the Boys and Girls Club. So this is page 1 of 4 of our homeless court referral agencies. I believe we have at least one agency in every city throughout Ventura County. If you would like a copy of this, you can just email our paralegals and they can provide you with a copy of it. So how do I start? So first you would have to go to the courthouse and go to the collections department and request an all case printout. And then you would contact our office, the public defender's office, and ask to speak with a paralegal regarding homeless court. And again, this is what I stated previously about the different things that our Fresh Start unit covers. So one of the things we cover are early terminations of probation. If you are currently on probation, have not violated probation, and paid all your fines and fees, and completed at least half of your term, our office could petition to terminate probation early. We also assist with certificates of rehabilitation, which is when the court says that someone who was convicted of a felony and served time in state or local prison has been rehabilitated. It does not erase your criminal record, but it can have some benefits, such as help when you're applying for a job or a professional license from the state, and it is the first step to applying for a governor's pardon. So if the judge decides to grant your certificate of rehabilitation, then it's an automatic pardon, an automatic application for a pardon with the governor's office. SB 384 is a sex offender registration relief. So it allows you to petition the court to terminate sex offender registration based on your tier level. It gets you off the Megan's Law website, and this Senate bill replaced the lifetime registration for all offenses with 3 tiers. So there's tier 1, 10 years, depending on the offense, tier 2, 20 years, or tier 3, lifetime. So these are the different penal codes for the expungement motions. So it all depends on what your sentence was. If you were sentenced to probation and local jail, it would be under 1203.4. If you were a fire camp participant at CDCR, it would be a 1203.4B. This is what our office would look into. It's not like you would know what type of expungement relief you would be eligible for, but this is just so you know that there is post-conviction relief eligible if you've been convicted of a crime. Thank you. So what expungements do not do? So they do not erase your record, but instead of showing convicted, it now shows dismissed. It does not hide convictions from any state board applications. It does not restore gun rights unless your case was reduced from a felony to a misdemeanor. And it still counts as a prior charge. Say that you were to pick up a new case, they can still use this case even if expunged against you. And it does not remove registration requirements for sex offenders unless we go through the SB 384 route. It does not remove license suspensions, and it does not remove immigration consequences of crime. So what our office would need from you would be a letter from you to the judge explaining why you need an expungement. It could either be for employment purposes, housing purposes, education purposes. Sometimes if you have a felony on your record, you don't qualify for certain scholarships. And then we would also need 3 reference letters from family, friends, children, parents, basically explaining why it would be beneficial to you to get your cases expunged. So the first thing you would do is you would go to our website, vcpublicdefender.org. Once you're in their website, there will be a blue button in the center of your screen that says I want to, and then you will select clear my record. Our application is user-friendly. It shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes to complete. It's going to ask you for information such as first name, last name, date of birth, case numbers. If you don't know it, you can still fill out an application, and it's going to ask you if you're on probation or any type of supervision and income information. So post-conviction immigration relief, one of the newer things our office offers is post-conviction immigration relief. So in the application, it will ask you if you are a US citizen. If you select no, what our office does is we send your information over to our 2 immigration attorneys just to make sure that if you do get an expungement, this doesn't affect you in the future if you are trying to become a US citizen or one day obtain your legal permanent resident card. I will hand it over to Michael Albers, our immigration attorney.
Hi, I won't drag this out too long. My name is Mike Albers. I'm an immigration attorney with the Public Defender's Office. I live 2 blocks that way. We had a change of leadership a couple years ago, and our new public defender, the first female public defender in history in Ventura County and the first Latina, has really opened the doors for us to do a lot of work. So any kind of criminal conviction can really damage somebody's ability to stay in the United States. 99% of what I do on a daily basis is go in and help non-citizens remove old convictions from their records. Many of my clients, most of them, in fact, are grandparents. They've been here for 50, 60 years, and they're looking at getting deported to a country they haven't seen since 1951 for a possession of marijuana charge from the 1980s. So we go through and help people with all of that stuff. And I think we can hit another slide. So as soon as somebody comes into our office, even if it's a first-time arrest, they're immediately screened for availability for all immigration benefits that they might have. Are they possibly a citizen? Were their grandparents here as the Bracero program back in the 30s, 40s, 50s? Are they eligible for a green card? Are they eligible for a crime victims visa? Are they eligible for a trafficking visa? Are they an unaccompanied minor who doesn't have one of their parents here? We can help them with all sorts of things. Every single person that gets a criminal case in Ventura County gets a full comprehensive assessment of what the possible risks and consequences of their charge is presently. And we also go to see if they have any old convictions that need to get deleted. And our office does all of this for free. Next slide. And we have a clinic that is actually not on October 22nd. It's on October 8th. We will be flyering the heck out of the avenue for this. And at Kellogg Park, we're going to have a couple tents set up. Our Fresh Start program will be helping people with expungements, with homeless court. We'll be assisting people with naturalization, with the process of getting citizenship. Many of our neighbors here have had their lawful permanent residency for decades and just need to get a little bit of help getting their naturalization paperwork put together. And I will be there doing my best to knock all these old convictions out. So unless anyone has any questions, I think that's all we have, and we will flyer the heck out of this. Those have, Alma, those have the wrong dates on them. The city changed our permit. It's a Sunday. Everything's on a Sunday for when our farm worker clients can be there.
It's good to see what you're doing to remove the stress on what has become an underclass of people who have a criminal record. That it seems like a gotcha thing that once you get in there, there's no escape. I practice transcendental meditation, and there's a huge number of scientific studies that show reduction in recidivism when people practice the TM technique. And so it'd be really great to see some kind of program that would make that available to people who are trying to piece their lives together. Having a stress reduction technique is really, really important to remove the temptation to, fall back into some, lifestyles that are not life supporting. So appreciate all that you're doing.
¿O es el 8?
El 8.
El 8,
right?
no el 22, el 8.
Correcto.
¿Va a estar interpretando en español también?
Sí.
¿Sí?
Sí.
Oh, gracias.
Sí, de nada. We have a few more slides. So one of the things our office also does is we co-host an event called Swap Meet Justice, which takes place in the Oxnard College Swap Meet the last Sunday of every month. And we also offer our expungement services, just because, even me, when I schedule a doctor's appointment, they are only open from 8 to 5. So I understand that a lot of our clients can't make it to our office because we're only open from 8 to 5. So if someone can't make it to our office, this is a good place to go and get more information about the post-conviction relief services our office has to offer. And we're there from 10 to 2 the last Sunday of every month. Next slide, please. So here is our contact information and our social media. I will be posting the flyer with the updated date. So just please remember it will be taking place on the 8th, not the 22nd of October. We have an Instagram and a Facebook. And then the last slide, there are the QR codes for other Southern California public defenders offices. So a lot of the public defenders offices have created a Fresh Start program, or I forgot the name, Clean Slate. Clean Slate's the other name for the Fresh Start program. So if you were to scan the QR code, it would take you directly to their Fresh Start page. Any questions?
I don't see anyone in the room. Oh, Councilmember Campos.
Oh.
Comment.
I want to thank you for enduring my putting you off, but also for this particular presentation, because there's such a great need in this community right now for what you're doing. And there aren't so many opportunities. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. All right, Zoom, don't worry, Zoomers, I checked and I didn't see any hands, so I got you. Hello. Okay, so for new business, I don't really have any announcements. I think the Westside Fiesta was the biggest thing we've announced tonight. So I can bypass that. Yes. So next we'll be closing the meeting, and our next meeting will be October 4th, same place, same time, 6:30. Thank you guys very much for coming out here, being with us tonight. As always, these videos will be posted on YouTube for future Westsiders. And with that being said, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.